How lovely to see your face.
Good morning. Lovely to see you too.
It's been probably a decade, I think. We may have run into each other now and again, but
Yeah.
we first started talking at the very outset of LovEarth, and
Yeah.
might have even been the outset of Yogi Spirit, was it? When did
It
you
was.
start?
It was completely it was. Yeah.
So we've been diligent, both of us. So it's very exciting that we've got you to head our whole podcast and video series on Yodiligence. Mm. So the theory of this podcast is to look at how we actually have moved with our yoga in a wider field. So I'm excited to talk to you because I love the way that you express yourself. I always have. And then looking at your website, I love what you talk about. It's really, really.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
So let's say that was 11 years ago. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah. It will be about that long since I've known you. Yeah.
Maybe a dozen.
Yeah.
Something like that. And we've both been steering these ships, and I'd love to know, way back then you told me quite a bit about why you were entering the field and what your purpose was, etc., etc. I'd love to hear it again. Here we are over a decade later.
Yeah, a decade. So really it's the sort of origin story of Yogi Spirit. And I suppose I started the online store mostly because yoga had such an important, played such an important role in my life. And I wanted other people to, experience the same thing. And more practically, I couldn't find the yoga wear that I wanted to be wearing in Sydney. There was no sustainable, nobody was using organic products or sustainable practices. And that was the clothing that I wanted to wear. And so that was the impetus, was to really create what I wanted to wear and what I wanted to be able to buy in the market.
And you've done that. And you've extended what you do by quite a lot, I think.
Yeah.
And look at us now. I mean, 10 years later, the field is flooded, isn't it, with sustainable options? And I like to think of ourselves as, maybe I shouldn't use the word grandmother for you. I am a grandmother, so I can use it.
I'm close.
You're close. Okay. Well, here we are, grandmothers of the field.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but we've had a number of people who've literally copied what we've created with LovEarth, which is exactly what should happen, because it's really, we needed to create an upward trajectory for sustainability in our field.
Yeah. I think the products had to reflect what yoga was all about, which I don't think it did to begin with. It's a completely different field now than it was 10 years ago. I feel like 10 years ago it was sort of, or maybe more, maybe 15 years ago it was Lululemon and Target, whereas now there's, as you say, there's a whole range of products that you can buy that reflect the values that you cultivate in yoga.
Absolutely. One of the big kind of themes, I guess, that we're going with at LovEarth, and a number of other things that I'm involved in, is re-looking at that concept of body, mind, life, the trilogy that we all spout all the time, and including the word earth, body, mind, life. And when you look back at the scriptures and the way that it was written, it did include nature, that whole concept of yoking, which is Sanskrit definition of yoga. It means to yoke nature and self. So yes, let's hope that it's going to get better and better still, shall we?
It's really about taking it off the mat. It's everything that you learn on the mat. And I think that was my trajectory, was you start off doing yoga as a, fitness. I want to be fit, waking up early to get my yoga practice in before my children woke up. And then from there progressing, with the inner work, and then, how am I going to do things in my outer world differently as well?
Which is exactly what yoga is meant to do, because it prepares us to be of service, doesn't it? And so if you're feeling amazing, then you've got energy.
I think that's what they say, isn't it? That is, as you're progressing, as you're doing your inner work, then you're able to then be of service to others. And I think that when yoga is used, I shouldn't use the word, when yoga is, when you allow yoga into your life that way, I think that just that just naturally happens. There's an evolution from very, me-centric to how can I be of service to others.
I love that. I mean, as Patabi Joyce always said, do your practice and all is coming. And, that's a very wide statement, which could mean a lot of different things. But it definitely, with 33,000 plus yoga teachers and 100 teaching schools in this country, in Australia, definitely is starting. It has a huge influence, I think, at a very grassroots level, because everybody feels the urge to give.
And also I think yoga has become so much more mainstream now, which has advantages and disadvantages, but it does mean that more people are open to the idea of yoga and open to the possibility of doing things differently.
Absolutely. Now, let me ask you a little bit about the actual business of yoga, what you're so diligent about. You could have chosen to become another yoga teacher, one of those 33,000. I'm very glad.
Well, I did actually. I did do my yoga teacher training. I was living overseas at the time. I was in the States. So I did actually do my yoga teacher training, and I did teach for a bit, but wanted to do something slightly different.
Bigger scale, broader touch.
Yeah.
And so when you started off with just a few products initially, and it seems to have grown a lot from what I've seen. Are you still adding new products to Yogi Spirit?
Yeah. So I try and visualize what somebody might want, when they're following a yogic lifestyle, including yoga mats, yoga wear, jewelry. And now I've moved on to sort of wellness products as well, which are sort of ritual based. So functional powders, mushroom powders. But it's always the same intention, which is to bring products into people's lives that, allow them to reflect on themselves and possibly change a little.
I love that category that you have there, ritual based products. And I was like, oh, what does she mean by that? Maybe you'd like to explain a little more about that.
For me, ritual based is about being present. Actually, it's about even the little things in life, like making a cup of tea in the morning. It's bringing presence into your life, and for me, that's a ritual. But there are also products that are more ritualistic, such as ceremonial cacao, and wearing mala beads for meditation, and I've got meditation blankets. And for those, I also think of as ritual. I have a morning practice that includes, yoga, meditation, and breath work. And for me, that's my morning ritual that allows me to keep sane.
How do people do it without yoga and mindfulness? I don't know.
Yeah. What was that?
How do people do life without some kind of ritual or yoga or something?
Yeah,
I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I mean, for me, it's been it's one of the most grounding practices I have. Journaling, I'll journal, I'll do my breath work, I'll do my meditation, and it's on the mat in the morning that I probably really connect with myself and know how I'm feeling, because the rest of the day you're so busy being out, either too much in my mind or with other people's needs as a mother and grandmother, that it's really the only time that I have to connect with myself. And that's the ritual, I think, as well, is the connecting with myself. And then from that place, I can be of better service to just the people around me.
Drawing from the well.
Yes, exactly. The oxygen mask first. Yeah.
It's so true. It's incredible what life demands of us, and running a business is no mean feat these days. Maybe it was us, but the old thing of being chief CEO and chief bottle washer,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. wearing all the hats.
So many. So tell me, what's your least favorite part of the business?
The least favorite. Oh, probably the accounts, but that's really boring, so we won't talk about that. It's staying on top of the financials, but that's a bit boring. I find it difficult to put myself out there all the time. That's probably more a personal resistance more than a capability resistance. And staying on top of the social media. I'm not particularly fond of social media, but I know that you have to have a presence, and I don't particularly like that.
If we all followed what we're told we need to do in terms of social media presencing, I don't know if you and I would still be alive.
I know.
It's full on, isn't it?
It is full on. Yeah.
And it is a little tricky. I also find that because you've got the need for social media. That's how people will find you and will understand who you are. And here we are doing this. But unless it's you, if you hire somebody to do it, the voice doesn't come across, for me anyway, very authentic.
I've tried that. Over the years, I have tried having other people, doing it for me, but it hasn't, as you say, it's not authentic. And I don't feel that it's mostly the authenticity.
Yes. And authenticity for me, it's just like, the fundamental part of why we do what we do, why we chose to take our own route through business to express.
It's taking your story out there, but it has to be a personal story for it to be meaningful.
Exactly. And, I do sometimes get the feeling that a lot of businesses don't come from that angle. They come from, that it's a $6.2 trillion international industry, health and wellness. Get a piece of that pie. And I find that very sad, I guess, for starters. Also inevitable, because we're in an economic model that demands that be our focus and our attention. It definitely kind of inoculates what we all do, because people go, ugh, it has that feeling of like, that doesn't feel cool or good or great. And I think when they stumble across a business like yours, or a business like mine, or an endeavor, I've never called mine a business before, I don't know why I did this then. They go, oh, that feels really real. I wonder if it actually. And they scratch and they realize, that the social media is not up to date, etc.
I find that one of the hardest things is wanting to be authentic, wanting to have meaning and having your purpose, but at the same time, in quotation marks, being commercial. And it's marrying those two and still being authentic that is actually quite difficult. And that's why I used to love going to yoga festivals, was because there you really are just you, and you're meeting your people, the people that want your products face to face. And I love that. Whereas the online, there's always a barrier, between what you're providing and what people want. Absolutely. which I think is probably an issue with our society. We're so much on our screens now. We're lacking that real connection.
Trade, the marketplace, the village marketplace has always been that time for real contact, hasn't it? It's been but you trade to be part of the whole flow and the interaction, and it just feels empty sometimes. I agree.
And I would love that. I mean, that's one of my sort of I don't want to use the word dream, but I would love to have a festival or a small conference, or where you can meet your other people, your tribe.
And I love doing that too. So initially, not initially, for years. I got in my car and I lived in my little roof on top of the car, and I drove all around Australia and talked about acknowledging country and talked about yoga mats and talked about just to be with the people that we were working with. And so fulfilling. And then COVID hit.
It
was everyone back in your boxes. And it's been hard to get going again.
So are you more settled down there now? So you don't do that anymore at all?
No, I don't do that anymore. We're running a festival down here, which is about that equation of earth, body, mind, spirit. And it's First Nations based. So that's what we're doing, and it's very place based. And there's also a certain joy in being place based, I find, as well.
The roots. Yeah,
absolutely. So tell me about your newest line that you've put onto Yogi Spirit? What was the last thing that you added to your list?
Well, it's sort of exciting actually, because there's a new area which I think is very related to yoga, but it's the wellness product. So it's the very newest ones are functional powders, mushroom powders that I've added, and they're all Australian brands. You know, reishi, yeah. So they're the Autonics. I found this wonderful brand down in Melbourne called Enki that makes Blue Lotus tonics and feminine and masculine tonics. And they're all, again, it's sort of ritual based. You know, you add a few drops to your tea in the morning. It's that feeling of bringing in not just health and wellness, but meaning to your, you know, that daily ritual.
I love that. Yeah. Drops of meaning.
Yeah, drops of meaning, exactly.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, you know, I just when I look at how you've laid things out and what you say about them all, it just all feels extremely meaningful. So, yeah,
thank you so
thank you, and thank you for being someone who's sold the LovEarth yoga mat since the day dot. Really, really appreciate it. It's been a funky kind of a undertaking for much of that time, and we really appreciate you sticking with us.
And everybody loves them. Yeah.
Well, they're grippy, they're good, and they're compostable, and I love them.
And you're the only one that does that, really, that's really compostable. I know some people say they are, but you know, it's sort of but yeah, your mats are amazing. In that regard, and the recycling.
Yeah, we try our hardest. We really do. And I think the one of the things that I'm proudest of is that we went to the effort of finding a good black dye to put into those yoga mats, because there's a lot of black yoga mats and people were asking for them, and they're not black, they're beautiful, inky, sooty, charcoaly, because they come from wintertime charcoal. But the blacks that people put into mats are so toxic, so toxic. And I'm not aware of any other yoga place that's done that yet. So if anybody's out there and listening, it's Binchatan charcoal. I want you to copy. Highly compostable and fabulous and great.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So, and as for the recycling, I did see that you'd put your hand up for recycling all those years ago to be a drop-off spot, though I don't think we've ever taken you up on the offer.
No,
if you're still up for it, we'll put you on the map.
Yeah, I'm up for it. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very, very much. And just out of interest, how do you get all your stuff out to market? Do you have a warehouse that you use, or?
I have I share a warehouse in Brookvale.
Oh, okay.
So I had to move out of that. I had to move out of my home. That got a bit too many products. So warehouse space. And then I also do a lot of drop ship, as you know.
Yes.
So a lot of my Australian brands, I work with them on that basis because it's easier for them and me.
I think drop shipping is the bomb.
Yeah. It does. It works well. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. Please continue to be a drop shipper. I am going to put you on our map. And
okay, great. Thank you.
Do you think there's any last little message that you might have for yogis out there?
You know what it is? I think it's just it's that saying of just one step at a time, because people are always saying to me, I don't have time to practice yoga. I don't have time for that morning practice. And I always say, but just do 5 minutes. It's 5 minutes that can change your day. And then without you knowing, it changes your life. You know, you do 5 minutes and then it becomes 10 minutes and then you're enjoying it, and it's easier to do half an hour. And you've changed something about your life just in those first 5 minutes in the morning.
Yeah, such a simple and beautiful thing, isn't
it? Yeah, it is.
You don't have to do the fancy poses in a bikini.
No, you don't. Yeah. I mean, sometimes, you know, I have mornings where I wake up and I've literally got 10 minutes, but I sit down, I do my 5 minutes of breath, I do my 5 minutes of meditation, and I don't beat myself up because it's not 20 minutes. You know, I just do it and I'm happy I've done it. Yeah. Unroll my mat. And that's the other thing. Have everything in your home ready to go. Like I have a basket with my mats and my props. So there's no, you know, and I have my gear, my yoga wear ready to go in the morning. So there's no sort of, searching for my mat. What am I going to wear? It's just all there, laid out, roll out my mat. And there I am.
A little sacred space.
A little
Very good.
space and time. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to encourage everybody that's hearing this to look at yogispirit.com.au.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We'll definitely put all the links, etc., under this interview so that people can see that, and hopefully they'll think about how would they best set up their sacred space. What would be meaningful with all the products. So thank you, Amanda. I just want to say
thank you, Cate,
thank you for everything.
All right. Bye.
Bye.